Hello, I'm Michelle Scott-Huffman. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the minister here at First UU. 14th century Persian poet Hafez wrote, "Out of a great need, we are holding hands and climbing. Not loving is a letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that." Truth be told, I'm inclined to be more of a solo climber. I mean, I'm all for good company along the way, but what if I join hands with someone and they drag me down or slow me down or intentionally pull me down? What if we can't agree on the route we want to take or the equipment we'll need? And as I review my mental list of what ifs, there's something else that jumps into my spirit. Another familiar quote from Australian poet Aaron Hansen, who wrote, "And you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?" And I'm thinking about climbing together and holding on and all of my doubts about whether it's safe and whether I'm better off on my own. And I can hear myself with some trepidation asking, what if I fall? And the answer of a young poet writing in a place where it's always the next day from where I am, who simply counters with, "But what if you fly?" And somehow I'm suddenly in the middle of a conversation between a 14th century Persian Sufi poet and a 21st century Australian girl who started a blog at the age of 11, which is a lot like ministry in a church with many generations of people and many understandings of the world. And now I'm sitting with the question, but what if we fly? Because it's all connected and we're all connected. And if we hold on to one another as we journey together, we are sure to go places we could not have gone alone. So now you have perhaps a terrifying little glimpse into the way that my mind works. I hear or read a word that brings up a memory of some article, book, song, or poem, connecting one thing with another and looking for the meaning that is being made as seemingly unrelated things come together. And I probably shouldn't say any of this out loud because you are Unitarian Universalists and you value careful deliberation and rational exchange of ideas. And this is all very woo-woo, follow the spirit sort of stuff. But hey, our fourth principle is a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And this is part of mine. Some of you might doubt the responsible part of my search, but isn't that what we're all doing here? Finding a balance in a non-creedal faith between our own individual spiritual journeys and the ideals of community that move us together toward continual learning and growth for the greater good of the world around us. And now maybe if your mind works the way mine does, you got hung up a sentence or so ago and you're asking yourself, wait a minute, what am I here for? Good, because that's what I want to talk about. I think when we get serious about naming why it is that we're here or anywhere together, we have a better chance of determining how we can best be together. We've had lots of conversations about our whys in the last several months in some of our Sunday services, in listening sessions, and UU connections, and in other places. And true to the spirit of Unitarian Universalism, there are a plethora of answers. In the process of asking the why question, I've also been asking another question, which is, what is distinctive to you about the UU Church? And many times I've heard the answer, well, we're not them. Them, I believe, meaning churches that require adherence to some questionable doctrine or dogma. So here's my question today as we think about living intentionally. What if the distinctive character of this community is not that we're not them, but instead that we are us, radically, intentionally, unapologetically, authentically us, and that being us means something we can all identify? And if that's going to be true, it's not going to be a particular list of beliefs that defines who us is. Rather, it will show itself in our relationships. specifically in the ways that we agree to be in relationship with one another, with our church, with our community, with the wider Unitarian Universalist Association, and with our world. And now we're talking about covenant. UUA President Reverend Susan Frederick Gray has said, "We sometimes wrongly say it is the absence of creed that is most important to who we are as Unitarian Universalists. This is wrong. Any one of us could practice religious freedom at home on Sunday mornings. We could practice religious freedom all day long, every day, and never come into community. It is covenant that brings us out of isolation, covenant that brings us out of selfish concerns, out of individualism, to join ourselves to something greater, to become a part of a community that is working to practice love, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and wisdom together, to find better ways to live our lives and to be in the world together. It is covenant that has us all holding hands and climbing together. One of the greatest joys that I have in ministry is helping to lead the ritual in which two people enter into a covenant to share their life together. Sometimes that's a Christian marriage ceremony, sometimes a purely secular wedding, sometimes a hand fasting, and once in a while it's standing awkwardly together in the hallway of a courthouse, reading a few words and allowing the couple being married to share a series of vows or promises with one another before they sign a paper in a judge's chambers. The ceremonies vary in length and depth and formality, but one thing that never changes is that I say to the couple, understanding that marriage is a covenant that you are entering into today, do you affirm your intent to enter into this covenant? If so, please say, I do. In that moment, the couple joining their lives together are not saying yes to being together. They already did that when they got engaged. In this moment, they're saying yes to the how of their life together. And it is connected to the promises that they've made or are about to make to one another. For some people, that may be the most intentional moment of their entire relationship, and then they forget. But for many, it serves as a framework for the way that they will love and care for one another as they head committed to one another into an unsure future. Sometimes even those intentional relationships come to an end too, and that's okay. When done well, the covenant is renegotiated into a different set of agreements or promises. Reverend Lisa Ward writes, a covenant is not a definition of a relationship. It is the framework for our relating. The covenant leaves room for chance and change. It claims, I will abide with you in this common endeavor, be present as best I can in our becoming. So I wonder what it might look like to be more intentional in relationships in our lives other than marriage. The reality is that I operate every day in covenant with my bank, my employers, my gym, my healthcare providers, my doctoral project advisor. I have a covenant with the students who live in the campus ministry house. I have a covenant with my wife, and it's mostly unspoken, but I absolutely have a covenant with my children. Relationships with clear purpose, well-defined boundaries, explicit commitment, and a framework for reconciliation when things go wrong are surely more healthy than relationships that exist without the benefit of such intentional engagement. Relationships where we just let life happen to us along the way. The latest UUA Commission on Appraisal, whose report was released in June of last year, took up the conversation about covenant again. It was an important conversation in the aftermath of what was perceived as a breach of the covenant between the congregations and the UUA in a selection process that didn't honor our stated commitment to diversity and inclusion and was lacking in transparent communication. A community in covenant has to grapple with these issues when they arise. But the other side of that is that a thoughtful covenant that has been crafted in community and agreed to in advance offers the tools for that grappling. In the final chapter of their report entitled Unlocking the Power of Covenant, the Commission wrote, Unitarian Universalism is not a creedal faith, it is a covenantal faith. More properly said, we are a covenantal faith. We promise each other to behave in certain ways and create common aspirations. We set our lives around the praxis of living out the promises we make to one another. In doing so, we choose to acknowledge the value of centrality, of organization, of community, and to embrace the practice of covenanting among congregations. First and foremost, it is our promises that hold us together. A covenant, a promise, can only exist with intention and can only be kept alive with attention. Covenant is essential to what Unitarian Universalism is, and we are inattentive to it at our peril. It is the source of strength, focus, clarity, and mission. Intention and attention. That's what I want to give to all my relationships. Reverend Ann Mason says that to gather together in covenanted relationship is to seek the truth in love. She says to seek the truth in love means that even when we stumble, we continue to love. Even when we flail, we stay in relationship. To seek the truth in love means that we talk about the hard things rather than denying that things can be hard. This is a very difficult task. It is not something I have found easy to do, but it is something that I continue to try to be brave enough to do. So today I'm here in this virtual pulpit because I believe in us. I believe in the principles of Unitarian Universalism as an organizing force to empower good people to do great work together. I believe specifically in First UU of Springfield, Missouri, to be a voice of liberal religion in the Ozarks, with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. A place for beautifully diverse group of people to be challenged and equipped to face hard truths about ourselves and our world, to grow spiritually and ethically until our growth sends us out to make change in the world, and then to come back again and do it over and over. And I think maybe you're here because you believe that too, or you used to, or you want to. And if so, I want to invite you to step into the conversation right now with intention and attention. Whether it's the conversation about new leadership and governance structures, or about the adoption of the 8th principle that names explicitly our commitment to dismantling white supremacy, or the effort to provide compassionate care to members and friends in need, or the conversation around lifespan faith formation and how we are continually learning and growing at every age. Perhaps you're excited about the idea of intentionality in our relationships and want to help craft a new covenant that honors the voices that are here and makes spaces for the voices that will come. However you decide you want to step in, I hope you'll reach out to me or to AJ or any of our committee chairs and get plugged in. Even in these strange times, when we aren't sure from month to month exactly how we'll be able to gather, there are so many ways to be an active part of this community with intention and attention. And as we do that together, I believe the words of the Commission's report will ring true, that we too will find strength, focus, clarity, and live into a well-defined mission together. And I don't know about you, but I could definitely use more of that in my life. Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing. Not loving is a letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that. Blessed be, and amen.